Hey y'all, today I wanted to share about my favorite kitchen appliance, and that's my Nutrimill. A few years ago we started grinding our own flour, and it was kind of a journey to get to that point because it's not anything I'd ever heard of. Like, I didn't know anyone else who ground their own flour, and it's not anything I knew about. But I was watching a documentary on Bob's Red Mill, and he just happened to say in passing, he mentioned a book called John Goff's Mill. And it's a book about this guy whose great-great-great-great-grandfather, like a couple centuries ago, had a grist mill. And he went back to the land to try to get this grist mill up and running again. And so it's kind of his journey to that. We also thought it was interesting that millstones are actually mentioned in the Bible. So in Deuteronomy 24:6, it says, "Do not take a pair of millstones, not even the upper one, as security for a debt, because that would be taking a person's livelihood as security." And so that was really interesting because it showed how important to people's livelihood and well-being for their family to be able to have a millstone to grind grain for their family's like nourishment. And it also tells you how much nourishment is in grains, which I think we probably don't think about that today because we think like wheat is bad. And so that kind of got us, as we were talking more about it, just looking into it more. So nutritionally, grinding your own wheat berries at home is a billion times more nutritional than buying flour in the store. So a little bit about it is a wheat berry. So these are wheat berries. They're these little berries, little grains. And it's made up of bran, germ, and endosperm. And so the bran is the outer coating. The germ is this tiny little piece in the middle. And then the rest of it is called endosperm. All the nutrition is in the bran and the germ. And the endosperm is where the starch is. So what commercial flour, what happens to it is they grind it, they get rid of the bran, they get rid of the germ. That's all the nutrients they just got rid of. They're left with the endosperm, which is the starch. They grind that into flour, and then they kind of discovered at that point that there's a lot of health issues happening because all the nutrients from the flour were taken out. So they started adding back, whereas I think that the wheat berry as a whole has about 26 vitamins and minerals in it. They stripped all that out. They added back about 2 to 4. And if you notice on your wheat or your flour, it says enriched flour, enriched wheat. Well, that is them enriching it. They're adding back just a few vitamins and minerals and then also preservatives, because as soon as you grind wheat, it begins to start going rancid. If you buy wheat or flour at the store, it is not good for you. There's no nutritional value. However, if you eat wheat berries that you grind at home, as soon as you grind it, all the nutritional value is still there, because I grind as I use it. And there's tons of fiber in the wheat berries. It's good for lowering cholesterol. It's good for balancing blood sugar. It's good for anemia. It has iron in it. There's just so much, and you can do your own research. There's tons of health benefits to eating a whole wheat berry versus flour from the store. So that was a big deal for us, as we were like, well, we obviously want all of those nutrients in how God intended it to be, which is like this amazing little wheat berry. The other thing is, if you've ever had freshly ground flour, it's so good. Like, it has way more flavor than flour from the store. And also, the other thing I grind besides wheat berries is I'll grind corn and make cornbread. And that's another thing. Like, over Thanksgiving, I decided, like, I just don't think I have time to make like my full homemade cornbread. We had a lot going on. I'm like, I'll just buy a cornmeal. It doesn't really take that long. Like, corn takes a little bit longer, but the store-bought cornmeal did not even compare to grinding it at home. It was bland, and as two people who love cornbread, we were like, we didn't even eat it. It was not good. So we have spoiled ourselves with like homemade cornmeal. So nutritionally it's better, taste it's better. The other thing is storage. So when I found this out, it blew my mind. These little wheat berries, when stored properly, which I store them in a Mylar bag with an oxygen absorber in it, they can be shelf stable and shelf life for 25 to 30 years, which is crazy to me. So, you know, when there's been shortages of flour, we have a stock supply, and I was like, it doesn't affect me. Like, we have what we need. And so we try to keep bulk supplies on hand. And that allows me to buy a 25-pound bag of wheat berries. I can buy organic. So that's another benefit, is it is cheap, way cheaper to buy organic flour and grind it, or organic wheat berries and grind it, than it is to buy organic flour from the grocery store. So there's all different kinds of wheat berries. There's soft wheat, hard wheat, einkorn, which is our favorite right now, kamut. So that's the why we got here. When we started looking for a grain mill, I did research. Nutrimill makes them. A lot of people also use a mock mill, which I haven't, so I have no opinion on that. One thing I knew I wanted in a grinder is I wanted a stone grinder versus an impact or burr grinder. I wanted the more traditional, like 2 stones grinding the wheat berries together. And so I was looking at Nutrimill. I also wanted something I could leave on my counter. I know me, I know if it's easily accessible, I will use it more than if it's something I have to get out of a drawer, a closet, something like that, dig for. And so it kind of led me to the Nutrimill Harvest, which is this guy right here. One, it's pretty. I leave it sitting on my counter, and I like looking at it. It's just, I don't know, it makes me happy. And it's really quick and easy to use, and it has the stones in here. I'll take it off in a second. I still have some wheat berries from where I was grinding them yesterday in there, so I'll grind those for you so you can kind of see that process. But it has this lid, which is really just to keep dust and stuff from collecting in there. You don't really need it on there when you're grinding. And usually I don't leave it on there because I may like throw some extra berries in there. It has this knob right here that you can make it come closer together, which will be a finer flour grind, or you can turn it and make it a little coarser. It really depends on what you're doing and what you're looking for. As far as am I happy with my purchase? Do I like the Nutrimill? I love it. I think it's great. It's really easy to use. It's very simplistic. This knob and an on and off switch, and that's it. I've had zero trouble with it. It just works like it's supposed to. I do need to clean it ever so often. So I can take it apart, take a brush and clean the stones to get any extra. Sometimes flour just builds up on there because, you know, flour is fine and it kind of compresses. So I just take a brush with that, put it back together, and then I just run rice through it, and that rice actually like pulls a lot of that flour out. So really simple to clean, and sometimes I forget to clean it, but it kind of tells me it needs to because it's not, the wheat berries aren't flowing. You kind of saw where it took me a second to get my grind right. That's normal. It's just but once it starts flowing, it's good to go. And so I usually just touch it because I know like how fine I want it to feel in my hand. I want it to feel, you know, like flour. You can see this looks different than flour like you would get from the store. One, most of the flour you buy, one is going to be bleached flour, which I honestly don't even know the process that goes through that, but I don't need the word bleach in any of my food. So it's not bleached. And it has all that bran and germ in there, so it's not smooth, it's a little more bulky. It's still a soft flour, it just has a little bit more texture to it. If I was making biscuits or bread or brownies or anything like that, pizza doughs, we also make einkorn pizza crust. This doesn't take long, it just takes just a second. And once I open my Mylar bags, I just keep my wheat berries in a mason jar so they're easy to grab out of the cabinet. So that's super easy. I'll also show you how I take it apart, because also very easy. You just push this little, there's a little button right here, you push down, you turn. That's the hopper. And then, as I was mentioning a while ago about the stones, this is the stone, and it grinds against this other stone. And then, as you can kind of see, you know, this is the flour that kind of builds up. So I can have a little brush I can take and clean that off, clean the stone off, and I can always run rice through it that kind of cleans it too. And then to put it back together, you just put that on there. You slip this in here and just turn it. You'll feel it click into place and it's ready to go. So it sounds crazy, like, hey, I'm gonna grind my own flour. You're like, oh geez, I don't have time for that. But you really do. And honestly, you save money, but really the nutritional value you get for your family is worth the, I don't know, extra 60 seconds, whatever it takes. And it is a slight investment up front, but it's an investment that will pay off. One, being healthy is cheaper than being sick, and two, you do save money, so over time financially you will see a difference. And it's just fun. So it's made me try new things, new flours, and learn new things. If you have any questions about grinding your own flour, I am by far not the expert. I still consider myself a newbie on it, but I will either know the answer or I will find the answer and learn something new. If you have any questions about the Nutrimill, feel free to reach out about wheat berries. I don't know, anything you have on that. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please keep tuning back for more and have a conversation below. Thanks, guys. Bye.